Welcome to the Fullcaster Podcast, episode 16. Our guest today is a good friend of ours and coworker, Sarah Bantay. Big help making this thing a reality. Fullcaster Podcast definitely has a lot to thank Sarah for, not only in the early days of actually the very first session that we were doing, like our test and tune, if you will.
Yeah,
things are going pretty good. And about 20 minutes in, I forget to. I didn't hit record. So
it was probably for the best, but yeah, it was going good.
Well, and I would say that we're a little bit better at what we do now.
I think
slightly.
So. We remembered to record today.
Yeah, the record button is on, so that's good. We're already in a proper direction. But ever since then, I vowed that after that mess up, we would make sure we had Sarah back on, and jumping right into the current events here. The best thing to talk about is Sarah's involvement. we got a new tablecloth that we just picked up.
Yeah, you said proper direction. I want to try to say. Speaking of direction,
from
a new direction.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, friend of the show, Darren Mercer, and his company, A New Direction. Actually, he did the not just the tablecloth, but also the new koozies we have, and we're getting some shirts made and getting some stickers done and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just really it's kind of cool and kind of makes it feel a little more like real, if you will.
Yeah,
seeing the logo on the tablecloth and on the koozies and stuff like
we're
that.
We're now well too invested that we can't stop.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're in.
Yeah.
Oh, and we even got the logos on your suit now, so we've really made it. Yeah, we're on a professional race car. Well, yeah.
We're on someone that's in karting has a suit with our
there you go.
thing on.
Yeah, and then we'll get some stickers going, and hopefully, some people want to throw them on there. That'd be pretty cool. And speaking of logo, though, actually, Sarah was instrumental in the very beginning with actually Sarah, our spouses, Heather and Becky. They were all influential as far as how this thing came about and how we did the early days of the logo and all the the color changes and different things we were doing. So they were a big part of that, and obviously we do those what do you call it, the hero card deals.
Oh yeah,
and Sarah's the one who does all the Photoshop stuff for us. Basically takes a couple photos and makes them look cool and puts the logo on it. Yeah,
it was cool. I mean, we you and I went back and forth for a while on just what the logo should be. Finally got the idea down and started seeing some drafts come up, and then I forgot what the site was we originally did it through. Fiverr. So we did that, that service through Fiverr and had the basic gist of what it was, and we told Sarah, and she knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, we
and
kind
where
of
to go with it.
Move things around, change things around, and ended up working out pretty damn good. And yeah, I really dig it. I think we got a cool thing there with that deal. And
the logo's awesome. The tablecloth came out really cool. We just posted the photo this past week on our Instagram and Facebook showing and actually saying that this is getting real for us.
Yeah.
And then the same day we also got the koozies. So we're going to be selling those.
Yeah.
And people are already hitting us up for them. So we're going to do a 1 for 3 or 2 for 5. And it's full caster koozie. It's got a new direction on the other side, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. And just it's not like we have any money coming in on this thing, so it just kind of helps us, sustain it a little bit, if you will. But the other thing would be before, but we're now at episode 16. It's the 17th one we've actually done. If you include the Facebook Live deal we did with episode 0 with Darren Mercer, we hope to do some more another Facebook Live deal and like an on-location deal or something, which might end up being like Rock the Rio.
Yeah, with kind of the way the schedule change and stuff is going.
Yeah.
I mean, we wanted to try to do Pro Kart here, and that got, changed when we were shut down and stuff.
Yeah. Then we wanted to do Pro Kart at Willow, and then we ended up opening at the same time. So, everything's kind of gotten messed up as far as how we want to do those on-locations. Basically, do it live again, have another live show. So we're going to try to make that happen, whether it be, Rock the Rio, or we'll see what happens with Supernats. We're recording this on August 31st. I haven't heard anything yet as far as the Supernats gig and how that's going to work, but
we're all waiting.
We're anxiously waiting. But anyway, that's what we're hoping for. Pretty stoked with the way things are going with the show here, and we appreciate everybody listening in.
Yeah, thank you.
I think without further ado, we bring up the person that is going to get her shot on the show here, and I've actually hit record again. So let's actually make it happen. Let's bring on over Sarah Bantay. Sarah Bantay, thanks for coming on the day off here. We're all here on the day off on a Monday and coming back to CalSpeed. Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, I know. Back.
Yeah, welcome. What are you talking about?
Clock in. Really? Really?
But like I said in the current events in the intro there, obviously we tried doing this in the very, very beginning, and I effed it up with the lack of recording as I look back over to make sure I've hit it again. Yeah, so... Again, thanks for coming out here and doing this thing on your day off and whatnot. We just had a doubleheader weekend of arrive and drive. We would probably rather be at home just relaxing, but you still came out. We appreciate it.
We can all agree on that.
Yep. I know. I was like waking up this morning like, what am I doing?
But you know what?
These FCP guys, I tell you.
It's nice rolling in. We're all in our comfy clothes. We're just relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk karting.
Never gonna fall asleep. So anyway, like we just said, we had an arrive and drive events this weekend, and that kind of rolls right into what do you do? I mean, obviously we know what you do, but for the kids listening at home, what's going on?
Oh, we'll get mildly technical on the verbiage here, but officially, I am the programs manager here at CalSpeed Karting, and I guess, thinking about it now, we're coming on like 5 years here.
Have you been here that long?
It's going to be 5 years now.
She started not too long after I did.
Jeez
So-
Louise.
Yeah, both 5 years.
That makes me feel kind of weird.
I'll tell you, actually, I'm coming on 10. I think it's...
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 10. Nice. It'll be 10 in June. So, I mean, I'm just clicking into my...
They say the next 5 go by like that. You know?
They really do.
Oh, jeez.
But obviously, yeah, you do the programs manager thing here at CalSpeed, and we see you on a daily basis. We're all friends and hanging out and whatnot. But we're here talking about karting stuff and other kinds of crap. How did you get into karting in the first place? What was the very first thing that karting wise that you got into?
Oh, so we can go all the way back to 2010, and that time was also when I didn't know anything about racing. Just had zero exposure, zero influence from, well, actually, no, I wouldn't call it zero influence, but I was a kid getting out of college at the time and really liked driving my car fast, but, not really knowing anything about the actual activity, how to do anything technical, and in comes the visits to K1. So that started around that time, and in comes the RX7 that I bought, which played a very, very huge part in my motorsport career. That's a big story, that car. But the main bit is end of 2010, I start getting into autocross and what have you, and then I want to say sometime in 2011, I'm autocrossing here just across the way over at Lot 6. And my friend, Brian Taroja, he's big into F1 at the time, just super stoked and just talking about it all the time. And I'm like, Brian, this is interesting. But kind of shut up for a second. I'm getting a little inundated here. But
Get a little flustered.
So he sets us up for a visit to the Jim Hall karting school over in Oxnard at the time.
So real quick, you're over at Autocross and you see something's going on here at CalSpeed, but you don't come over to CalSpeed and try it here first?
No, and that's what's funny. Like he saw it and I saw it because he'd come out while I'm doing autocross stuff. He already recognized the fact that there's karting across the way, but I don't know why.
He's like, there's someplace that's really close. Oh, it's Oxnard.
Yeah,
we'll
I know.
go there.
I'm not sure how that happened, but we started going over there, and
well, actually, and to be fair, in 2010, you said this happened. So in 2010, the Super Series didn't even start till like June of 2010.
I was about to say that was the first year it started. Yeah.
So it's not like there was this big presence online or anything like that from CalSpeed. So if it might have been an open practice day, or maybe it was a corporate event or something going on here, but it definitely wasn't the CalSpeed that it is now with how busy it is. So it's actually not a huge surprise that when you hey, I want to go karting, that you would see Jim Hall or something like that, because Jim Hall was huge.
It was way bigger back then, for sure.
And not CalSpeed at the time. So actually it makes a little bit more sense back then.
Yeah,
and it was the actual gym hall track, right? Because I
Yes.
knew he did stuff at like the fairgrounds. Okay.
No, it was his actual facility at I want to call it Oxnard.
That was
Yeah.
the place that we went, I think, to pick up the bears and stuff like that.
Yeah, the first place we went to was a parking lot.
Oh, I didn't go to that one. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it was not something like that.
Okay.
The actual track that they had by
Yeah.
by Haas.
That's right.
No, that was a great time. I don't remember how many times I went, but
What'd you do there?
100cc.
Okay.
So it's so funny, the transition from K1 indoor and then like autocross to suddenly 100cc and like completely skipping over 4-stroke stuff. Like I thought, oh geez, this is like awesome, but the curve, the jump was like kind of steep. But
Well, let's go back real quick to the K1 thing.
Yeah.
So how did you? So K1 happened first,
yes, it did.
What,
and then autocross.
Yes.
Okay,
that's correct.
so how did you go from not doing anything at all to doing K1? And then maybe Derek was going to ask about, and which K1 did you go to?
Yeah.
I would always go to the Anaheim one. I used to work over at a truck driving school, really close to Disneyland at the time.
Large Marge sent you.
What?
Anything?
What?
Anything?
No.
Nope.
Oh, the trucker from Pee Wee Herman?
So, anyways, like we were saying,
That reference.
I totally thought you would have got that.
Well, you know, my repertoire of movie knowledge is not as deep.
everyone's repertoire of movie knowledge is not that of Derek's. Jeez. So,
What a
anyways,
disappointment. You're at truck driving
So,
school.
like I was saying,
Yeah. Marge.
I'm not really
Keep going.
sure how I found K1. I don't remember how I found K1.
So, but were you hooked right away, and was it a short stay, if you will, at K1?
Oh no, hell no, was it like short? I would make it a point to go every single week. That's what I would do.
but how does that happen? How do you go from not being involved in motorsports, what is the spark? What is the thing that gets you to K1 and then do it every week?
So at the same week that I started going to K1 was the very week I bought my RX7.
Okay,
jeez.
so
Yeah.
then maybe what's
was
the
the car-
catalyst to getting the RX-7? Why get that car?
I just what was it? I just got out of school, just got my degree, and I've been watching a little bit of Initial D. You know, I kind of want
Nice.
a cool car, and if I were to pinpoint the very moment, and this one, Andrew, my other half, he had just gotten his Integra GSR at the time, and
Nice.
I remember this moment because I'd never been in anybody's car where we were having a fun time like that. I remember specifically it was getting onto the freeway on-ramp, and I've never been in a car where someone took it from 0 all the way to red line on the RPM and just flooring it. Never in my life, really. I know it sounds like that's such a simple thing, but when you come to it late in the game like that, like I'm like 22 at the time, we're going, blah, blah, you know, VTEC just kicked in, you know. I mean, we'll make fun of it, but
Your
tell
skin's
me.
flying off your face. Yeah.
Tell me you're not having a good time. Tell me that you're like, I want a piece of that myself.
My roommate had a I can't remember when it was, but it was an Integra as well. And yeah, when it was like wah, you know,
That's pretty cool.
That second piece, that was always cool. Absolutely.
I know. And we could make fun of it all day, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, holy crap, I got to get something like this. So I'm on the hunt. I'm on like Craigslist. I need something really cool.
And then you're influenced by the Initial D thing a little bit.
A little bit. I wasn't, and at the time, I wasn't a like a rotary obsessed person yet. It didn't happen yet. But I'm like, okay, cool. I would like that too. So it was looking at a whole slew of cars. But it just so happened that's the one that ended up in my lap, and the rest is history.
So you end up getting the FC, all right? And you get that sensation of getting on the gas and stuff like that. Are you starting to watch racing a little bit and
Yeah.
whatnot? And so, okay, you start seeing some racing, and so is that kind of what drives you to go, wait, I can't go hardcore all the time with the car, but I want to go drive something, and so you go to the Anaheim K1 at that point and start doing it more often. Did you ever do any competitions or anything?
Over at K1?
Yeah, any of the GPs?
And I don't think I ever did. Actually, I never did a real GP there, but they did have a couple of night races.
Oh, cool.
An official, they didn't include them in the GP stuff at the time.
It was kind of its own special event. Type
Yeah,
deal.
What does
but
that mean, night races?
They
It's like
shut
evening
off.
or
They'd
Yeah,
all
they
be all
shut
like
up.
a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
cosmic karting kind of thing.
Kind of without the cosmic. What karting was
You said
it?
shut off the lights. I don't understand. How do you?
Well, because like if you go to like SBR, it's Cosmic Karting,
That's
but they
what
have
I
like
mean.
some neon stuff.
Okay.
But this didn't have.
At the time, it was way dark. Like
Yeah,
you could
there's-
barely see the apex.
There's nothing.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no lights at that place. with
no
them
wonder
coming
they
off.
didn't continue to do that
It
very
was
long.
sketchy as hell at first, and I mean,
Yeah, insurance caught wind of that. They made sure to sign up for that next week's night race.
It's okay though. Those went good. If there's any time in my life I was on the top step of the podium, it was at those. So
Nice.
I'll dust myself off a little.
So going back to like to talk about the K1 stuff for a second, because that was where I started too. I think I started like in 2008 or 9, roughly. But it was always so cool because Anaheim was the first location in SoCal besides further down south in San Diego. So I'd always go to Anaheim, but it was so cool because, you know, I mean, it's way more commercialized now than it's ever been with the expanding and whatnot. But they'd have, you know, some cars on display there. Like they actually had the Trans Am car, ACS Mustang that Boris said drove. That was on display at that
Huge mural of him on the side of the wall.
and then the mural of all the things he's accomplished, you know, Nürburgring, Daytona, all that stuff. But it was
Right,
just
because Boris is part of the K1 program.
yeah, but it was just so cool that, I mean, as for me, I was a kid starting out in karting there, and to see all that stuff, I'm like, this is badass. That was the stuff that got me revved up to go try to do it. So
So you're going and doing that K1 stuff there, but you don't really do any of the competitions. You don't do the GPs or anything like that. And then you have the car. How long do you do the K1 thing before you end up moving and doing the well, okay. How long do you do K1 before you do autocross? And then how did you find out about autocross?
Autocross, I specifically found out about on RX7club.com. It was a forum that of the earlier days of the community. And I don't know, you're just messing around on the internet and you get wind of, oh, here's a sport that you can try and pursue and try so you can push your car to the limit. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, why would I not want to do that?
Sure.
And so I bought the car June 18th, 2010, and my first event had to be, I want to call it November or December that year.
Oh, pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, no, let's go. I'm like, like
So
we're
you're-
going.
So you get the car and you're doing K1 pretty much at the same time. Do you just do all the way once a week all the way to that point, and then at that point do you kind of stop doing the karting thing and just concentrate on autocross?
Yeah, I want to say so. I mean, it's like we're talking a decade ago now. I'm kind of forgetting. But I stopped going to K1 a bit, but I'd still go like every once in a while. The autocross started taking more priority. The RX-7 would break, and I'd have to fix it again. I mean, of course, you know, that's part of that ownership. That's part of that experience. And actually, right now, I don't know why the hell my fuel pump keeps priming. So I got to fix that right now. I drove it here yesterday. I was like, the hell is that noise? It shouldn't be doing that. But what's new?
So you're doing the autocross thing, then and you come out here and you do your first autocross. And does that go swimmingly? Does that go absolutely perfect right out of the gate?
My first autocross, I failed tech.
How did you fail tech?
Something dumb. It's not even. It's dumb. Now, if we think about this time, I don't know.
windshield wiper fluid.
No.
Big tech item in here. Big tech item.
Jeez.
They get everybody.
Maybe in the Northwest where you got to be able to see.
Oh no!
Shut up. Rain and
Shut
whatnot.
up.
This was a stupid tech item. But know that I know nothing about cars.
Well, what's the tech item?
I'll get to this.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
tell my story and
I'm
sit
sorry.
down for a
All
second.
right.
You with your disruption. It's my show today.
Oh Jesus!
We're cutting all that out. Anyways, I apologize. Go ahead.
Dumb stuff. Just know I know nothing. Like I know
You
nothing
bought the
about
car.
cars.
You went to do autocross.
But
That's it.
a car
Yeah.
like that forces you to really learn how stuff works. So anyway, at the time, all it was that I failed the tech on the battery fastening. It has to be tied down. It's so stupid. Like, I look at it now, I'm like, that's really moronic, like, you know. But back then, I'm like, how do I do that? I don't understand. Like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, the course is hot. I'm missing my session. The anxiety is like there. And,
Sure.
And no one's helping me because, one, it's a stupid thing. Two, I'm just anxious. So anyway, I'm like, okay, breathe for a second.
First event nerves for sure.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and top it off, female at the racetrack. Still, like it's a thing.
They're not
especially when you're
flocking
new.
over to give you a hand?
Well, I mean, what the heck? Well, nobody does now because they know I'll punch them in the face.
Oh, jeez.
But anyway, so I just pull the big girl pants on, run to the store, the AutoZone down on Cherry, and go, okay, breathe. What do I need? Bought the thing, got back here, passed, and was on my merry way.
Gotcha.
That's it. It was so stupid, but I remember that because of how you remember the feelings. You remember the feelings, and then you remember pushing through it, and then now it's badass. You're like, great, I'm having a good time.
Right. And so you go out there and you do this autocross thing. You have a good time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that first event, or is it? Well, no, it sounds like it's a couple events later that Brian is out here with you,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point you find out, or you kind of put two and two together about the kart track.
Mm-hmm. So we start going to Gym Hall every once in a while.
Is that the same year, or is that the following year?
I want to say we went the following year.
Gotcha. So you'd had a couple autocrosses under your belt at that point.
So had a bunch of that, and then it was 2012 when finally I think he was the first one to come here to CalSpeed.
Yeah.
And
sorry, real quick, go back to the Jim Hall thing. So what?
Oh, yeah.
What made you go do that?
he signed us up.
Okay, so it was just like hey, I got this cool idea. Let's go over there and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go do that. It's the 100cc. Is it you do like the school thing? Like how did that program work?
It was a school thing, and very small school. It was. I remember there was probably no more than 4 people in class at once. I was like, it's pretty small. I didn't care. I'm just having a blast. I'm having a blast getting the wind knocked out of me mid corner. I'm like, oh, and the instructor is telling me, oh, you got to breathe a certain way when you're pulling this much G. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So, and
that sounds like Mike the other day.
That was your fault.
You gotta breathe a certain way. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
When you get slammed. Anyway.
So that to learn how to drive karts in that manner first was really, really great. It was a great experience. So taking that, and I really don't even remember the timeline anymore. It was so long ago. But
How many times did you guys go do that?
I know we took the class stuff at least 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Not much more though. I mean, unfortunately, we never got into the series that they had. I think they had one.
Yeah.
And I remember toying with the idea, but we were still kids with limited means. So to go out and all the way out
keep
to
spending
Oxnard
money,
was like,
Yeah. It's a bit much. And then you were still doing the autocross thing at the same time.
Yeah, because I was starting to get in my head that I wanted to compete in a full season.
Uh-huh.
So there was those factors like, okay, do I want a whole season in autocross, or do I want to start getting into karting? Do I need to fix my RX7 some more?
Right. And the RX7's hanging out in the garage the entire time. You don't have a cart there, so you have to go do this other stuff. On the Jim Hall thing, the last bit on that was, did you do that on purpose to improve as a driver in karts, as a driver in general, or like, hey, maybe this will help me in my car? Or did you even have any thoughts of that, or was it literally just do it for fun?
It was both. So it was primarily like, oh, I'm going to use this to help me become a better driver in the car.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was clearly still, I'm having a good time anyway.
Right.
And that will become a theme in my own motorsport career later on. Like, dude, remember why you started this in the first place. This is for fun.
Right.
You want to enjoy this and have a good time and not get it all up in your head like, oh, I'm not doing so good.
Were you pretty nervous the first day you went to Gym Hall?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. Like when
Not
it
the
comes
same
to
kind of nerves as you had the autocross, though, it sounds like.
No, not the same. I just remember like it was more of that wide-eyed, doe-eyed, like
Oh, I got you.
just this is new stuff.
Right, yeah.
Whoa, it not that it was a negative feeling, but it was just ooh.
It was a lot to take in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Well, and you don't have any responsibility because you're showing up as a student, where in the autocross you're showing up as a competitor, and you're like, oh, I got shit I got to worry about.
Right, exactly. So on the autocross thing, did you end up doing that full season?
I
Compete for a championship, or at least compete for events and stuff like that?
it was the E-Stock class with my Miata.
Sorry, what? East?
E-Stock.
Oh, E-Stock.
Yeah.
Got it.
car didn't stay stock for long, obviously. But the intent was to compete in that class. I want to say it was 2013. And a lot of the locations, it was over here, at the Speedway, and then at Irvine at the Orange County Great Park.
You said 2013. So you just did some one-off events, some the karting stuff and whatnot, over 2 or 3 years? Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Because I think, didn't you say earlier you didn't come here to the kart track at CalSpeed until 12?
Yes, because it was end of 2012. And I remember this specifically. I didn't know that there was a rookie championship.
Oh.
And it would have been nice to go for that. But come around, I do 4 rounds. I want to say 4 rounds in 2012, end of the year. 2013 starts. It says, oh, you can compete in the rookie championship. You must have done no more than 3 races in the previous year. And I was like, really? Like, and hey, I remember I was not terrible. I was not a D main driver. I was a C and up coming into the thing. And I'm like, no.
Better than my start.
Yeah, I know. Geez, see? Look at that.
That was D.
Wow, you are the D.
For Derek.
Yep, that is D for Derek,
That's
yeah.
yes. We'll stick with that.
And,
So you did 4 races in the Super Series at the end of 12.
yes.
And then 13 rolls around, you realize you can't go for the rookie championship.
And so I'm like, ugh, all right, whatever. So I go and
Did you do Super Series full season in 13 anyways?
I believe so, yes. I think the idea was I want to do a full series or a full season of Super Series, and then 2014, let's do Sport Kart Grands.
Aha.
And
Gotcha.
that was the idea.
Because Sport Car Grands had actually started in 12, so that you knew about from the 13th season. Like, okay, as you start progressing through their deal, you end up going, okay, that's the goal, doing Grands in 14 and whatnot. Are you doing the Autocross at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that made it a little rough on the wallet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm like, okay, what should I do? I remember thinking at the time, should I do one Super Series round this month and then Autocross next month and alternate? But then that kind of sucks. You kind of want to go for some kind of championship. But
Some kind of carrot in front of you.
And
But-
it's nice to keep that momentum in one
Yeah.
thing, too. You know?
Well, you're going to get a little bit better at one thing if you do a little bit more often as well.
Yeah.
Was it a tough transfer, if you will, or go back and forth between the car and the kart?
no, not at the time. 2013 was also when I bought my Miata, my first gen.
Oh, okay.
So I remember it was February 2013 when I took the keys home to it, and it's basically like a giant go-kart,
Sure.
really.
Did you switch on the autocross thing? Did you switch over to the Miata?
Yes, because the RX-7 became it was clear from the community that the car was in such a state that it was very covetous. Let's maintain this car. It was also getting pretty expensive just to keep it running. So I'm like, let's go with a cheaper car that is extremely popular. In fact, I didn't even like Miatas at the time.
Interesting.
I was like, those are a little too hairdresser, that's not. And then look at me now, Jesus. Anyway, but yeah, I was kind of opposed to a Miata before.
Yeah. But obviously very, very well suited to autocross.
Oh, yeah. And transitioning between driving that and then driving a sport kart was not a problem. In fact, both, I felt a lot better controlling each side, like anytime I switched from the other.
It wasn't such a big transition,
No.
going from one to the other.
It wasn't.
Did you, kind of hitting a pause on the progression here, going back to little Sarah when she's growing up, any racing at all, anything in the family in motorsports?
Zero.
None at
Oh,
all?
really?
Zero.
And you're from the Philippines, originally. That's where you were born.
Or no, I was born
Oh,
here.
that's right, you were born here.
I was born here. Zero motorsport. Zero. Any of that.
Nothing.
So if we can get into the whole, man, if I had gotten some
Sure.
push when I was a
Shoulda, woulda,
kid.
coulda,
yeah.
But one of my favorite things actually is what probably had a lot to do with how my mom raised me and my general comfort in participating in such male-dominated activities, if you will, from like the driving and the weightlifting too. My mom had just just made her own Facebook account at this instance. I don't know, but whatever. Forget the year. But she posted this picture on my page, and it was like a little girl who had put like toy cars in little pink beds and upside down. And she's like, "Oh, Sarah, this reminds me of you when you were little." And I was like, "Mom, really?" She's like, "Yeah, you'd play with the toy cars and the dolls that I gave you." And I'm like, "You gave me both toys." She's like, "Yeah, so you could, you know." And so, I mean, we could go deep into the psyche of a child and that.
She corrupted you at an early age.
Yes. So if you want to talk about any of my motorsport at a young age thing,
a little bit of an influence, yeah.
But you're not. There's nothing in the family. You're not watching on TV. None of that kind of stuff. So what makes you even? Is it really the on-ramp deal in the car?
It was the initial D.
So, okay.
It was initial D in college.
What were you doing as a kid then for interest in or sports, hobbies, whatever?
I was a tennis player. I was a dancer.
Really?
And I was in choir.
So, are you pretty good at tennis?
You
still do it?
I don't do it anymore, but I was a tennis player, a Polynesian dancer, and I was in choir. So I was all those
What's
things.
a Polynesian dancer?
I'm not going to... Well, you know.
No, really?
Really? Okay, so it's, you got the hula stuff and then other types of dance from those regions of the world.
Gotcha.
So, it's Polynesian.
I could have guessed I could have guessed where you came from, but I didn't know what specific there was to Polynesian dancer.
Yeah, I used to do all that
now you know,
stuff.
Mike. There you go. He wanted me to ask.
Yes, that's what it was.
How long did you shut up over there? How long did you do tennis for?
Just a year.
Oh, okay.
I was such a bad...
Man, just a year? That's it?
You know why, though? It's because I couldn't make up my mind on all the stuff I wanted to do. There was no... So the big thing with the racing, as opposed to all the other hobbies, if you will, that I had before that, was I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I truly enjoyed. Hence, tennis only for a year. Being in, the dance thing for a year. This is stuff that I liked, but I didn't truly feel involved or invested in it until the racing.
Gotcha.
Which definitely, you found late.
Yeah, it's really late. 22, come on.
How old were you when you started watching Initial D? Was it 22?
College.
Oh, was it just college?
So it's 18 through 22, that time. I mean, I was a dorky kid. I liked anime, so when that came around and I started watching, I'm like, this is cool. And
I was about to say, it's going to come around one way or another because you like anime and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, too, I was already an aggressive, super competitive kid, growing up. I remember throwing fits, when I was 10 because I lost a stupid game at a birthday party. I was one of those,
you pinned the tail on the wrong donkey.
Yeah, I know. No, actually, it was a pin the tail on the donkey.
Oh,
exactly.
geez.
That's not scripted. Yeah, I complained about that. I was so mad. It's really embarrassing now, though.
And then she starts watching Initial D, and all she wants to do now is the duct tape and deathmatch. That's it. Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, it was going to happen eventually. Just it came a little late.
So, I mean, you get into you're doing the Autocross thing in the Miata in 2013. You're also doing Super Series and whatnot. But you also are talking about, it's not like you have money coming hand over fist doing whatever you were doing at the time for work. What was did you have an end goal, or was it a similar situation to the other stuff where I'm going to try it and see how it goes and then go and make a decision from there? I mean, you did say you had the Grands as a goal, but what was the deal on the Autocross and the karting? Did you I'm going to keep doing this and keep moving up the ranks or whatever?
As every driver experiences at some point in their career, usually in the earlier times, think they're going to be the best driver in the world. So I had that stupid ego idea in my head that was going to happen at some point. But we all know that's kind of stupid. That's not going to work. But really, in the earlier times, that was kind of the prevailing thought. So I had a huge chip on my shoulder all the time, trying to prove myself nonstop. And so that clouded any logical goal at the time. Today, I think much more clearly about that, hence a lack of direction completely, because I just want to have a good time now. But back then, it was just complete ego-driven like efforts all the time. Sure, I did okay. I never got myself into a D main. I'm gonna have that proud moment. And also I didn't suck at Grands. Had some I had an off pole once over there, so
Yes,
that
you did.
was I'm gonna
I remember that.
that was okay. I'm gonna yeah. I'm gonna enjoy that.
We're gonna go sit on a cart.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you do end up having some good races and whatnot. I remember you did the oval, and I think you were on pole for the oval after the invert or something. Yeah,
that was sucky. I could not
that's
do that.
a whole nother different type of driving with the carts too as well. But you end up doing a few different things on the sport carts, and then the autocross. What did you end up doing? How did that end for you on the sport cart stuff? I mean, obviously I know, but how did you go from you run full season 2013? Did you run a full season in 14 as well, or just Grands?
I want to say 14. I wanted to do full season, but I was getting super involved with the car at the time.
Okay,
So that was not a full season because there was a lot of autocross, and my first track days, in the car, were happening during that year.
what were you doing in the car then in 14?
14. I think end of 13, I had done my first track day up here at the Speedway on the
At Auto
Roval.
Club.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was my very first one.
And this is in the Miata.
In the Miata. It was November 2013 and first time at the Roval, which was fantastic. I still have a hard time getting that close to the wall at the very end of the oval. I got a break and I'm going 110, 120 through here, and that's slow compared to what it's supposed to be designed for. But I'm like, all right, keep your foot glued on the floor, man. And then break down in. But what were we talking about? I'm just thinking about the driving and getting too excited right now.
In 14, you were doing that was your first track day, and then in 14 you started doing more of the car stuff.
Right. So it was a mixture of Super Series at the time, some autocross, and then also that year, first time at Laguna as well. So being up at Laguna Seca is also really enjoyable. I mean, I just talked about going up there just a week ago, but
Oh yeah.
6 years ago was the first time I ever went.
Gotcha. How many times have you been?
4 total.
4?
Yeah.
All in the this last one was in the new Miata. Is it your second time in the new Miata up there?
Yeah, so 2 in the old, 2 in the new.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool.
Do you feel the difference in the car
Absolutely.
from the two? Yeah.
Absolutely. At first, if you're not pushing the cars that hard, you can feel that they're still very similar, at the core of it. But I had my old one set up so well that once you're pushing the suspension, the new one is very hard to read.
Oh.
Because it's really soft. The body roll is kind of hey, am I approaching the edge here? Yes, you did. You're past it.
Aha. Gotcha.
And so,
So the old one was set up a lot more for those things, again, with the autocross and everything else. And the new one, the ND, is mostly
it's still
stock.
it's still stock. It's just tires and safety equipment. That's all I have on it.
Right. You said the roll bar helped out a bit though with the body roll for sure.
But it's still soft.
Yeah.
But I'm
Only does so much.
I'm like, oh, should I maintain the daily driver status or should I be stupid and upgrade everything again? We've been through this, Sarah. Just stop. Or not.
Or not. Or no. Or yes. Or no.
Yeah, I know. It never stops, ever. That's why we do it. It's just a good time all around.
Did you go for any points championships or anything like that? I don't really know how the autocross thing works as far as the season. I only did a couple of them a long time ago. But I assume there's still a points championship? I know SEC has Solo 2.
Yes,
I think they call it. So
that's what it was.
Yeah. Did you go for a championship or full season in that at all?
You know what? I mean, in a nutshell, the attempt was there, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly because I just badly wanted to start upgrading the car so much. I just knocked myself out of class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. So you got bit by the improvement bug in the car and got yourself into higher classes.
And then those classes, it's basically an unlimited class already. I'm like, well, you know what? Never mind.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you haven't done autocrosses though for a while now, have you?
Oh no, I only went to 1 in the new car last year, and that was it.
And that was the first time in a while.
really long time. 5 years.
Yeah. So what made you stop doing the autocross thing?
Well, we could say having unavailable weekends might be a thing.
So basically what happens is this is kind of the same story with the sport karting, right? Mm-hmm. You end up getting a job here at CalSpeed. Mm-hmm. And obviously working at CalSpeed means you're going to be working on the weekends a decent amount. So that was basically what you stopped doing, the sport kart racing and the autocross stuff.
Pretty much.
But you kind of transitioned more over to doing track days, and then I know that Sevenstock, the RX7 deal is a big thing. What is that all about, and what do you do with the Sevenstock thing?
So that is just the biggest rotary event in the world, actually. And so every year I've made it a point, like, I gotta be there. Like, I can't miss it. I cannot miss it. The car has missed it maybe a few times. I have never missed it.
Gotcha.
Since owning the thing. So 2010 was the very last time it was held at Mazda headquarters in Irvine, but for a number of reasons, including that there were so many participants, they couldn't hold it there anymore. So they've been at Willow Springs, they've been at once they were at Pomona, but for the majority of the last 10 years they've been here at the Speedway. As to what's going to happen this year,
we'll see what happens.
You'll see what happens.
For sure.
But
because all of the like Bimmerfest and all those other different things, they're not. I haven't seen anything like that going on.
Yeah, same.
You haven't had these big crowds of people at all. Yeah, for sure.
So, who knows what's going to happen this year? But either way, that show I build a lot of friendships there. A lot of people I know are there. So I always try to make sure that I am there.
Is that a car show deal, or is there on track? It's
a car show and then car show, track day, and autocross.
Gotcha.
At least when it's held here, we can accommodate all that stuff.
And do you bring both cars over, or do you try to?
Try to.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yeah, and compete with both.
The RX7 stays in the show.
Gotcha.
And then the Miata should go on track.
Has its track days been put behind it? Maybe, as you said, it's a coveted vehicle. Maybe more of your quote show car of the two.
For the time being, it is just show car. I would love to put it on track and go take it to, like, say, Laguna or something. That's what I would want to do, but I could not cope with the fact that if I break anything on that, it will be, 1, be expensive, 2, be very difficult to replace.
Right.
So, like, that's something that, okay, if things are, like, really perfect, then I will bring it on course. But right now, just preserve it and,
enjoy it, yeah.
And enjoy that it runs, for God's sake. And then my other car is my daily and fun.
Yeah, right. What going back to the you say you just did Laguna and the Miata and whatnot, and getting a chance to scratch the itch on the driving, etc. Aside from doing a 10-man in the sport karts, you did was it last year in the 206?
2 years ago.
2018.
Was it
spec
18?
class?
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
it was spec class.
Oh, that was a blast. And it's so funny. I didn't even think to bring that up. I remember at the time it had been a while.
Since Jim Hall that you were in a competition car.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It had been a while since I've been in the seat, and not to mention wheel to wheel. So
yeah, aside from just going out here and playing in the sport karts every once in a while.
And that's just like for S&Gs,
right?
That's fun.
Yeah.
Although arguably all racing's for S&Gs, right? Really. But when I remember back in the early days, you'd get like a little bit butterflies going into a race and go like, all right, I feel like some of that anxiety. But that was the first time in 206. First time I pull up to here, not as an employee, but as a driver.
Right.
And I feel fantastic. I was drop that F-bomb there. I'm feeling fantastic. Almost again. See, it's just natural to drop an F-bomb here. And so I'm just having a great time. Like, it's so good to be
no
back.
pressure. Just enjoying.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I could use some more of this. This is great. Like, no pressure.
We got a 206 for sale, so.
Nice.
No, geez, no.
Parts are easy to find. All that stuff.
But that was a great time. And it felt natural to just jump right back in. Of course, we played a little bit after hours,
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of testing in advance.
Some,
Well,
but
we had to get the bloody thing up to weight.
I know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
For those of you who don't know Sarah, she's not a big person. She's fairly small. And so to get to the minimum weight of, I want to say it was 370.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 370 for spec. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh, no. We put her in senior because it was less weight.
But then
did
we
we?
put you set the weight for senior, but we put so much weight on there that I made enough to be in spec.
It was the same.
Was it?
No.
I thought the weight was the same. Oh, not in 18. In 17 it was, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
In 17 it was because I ran Masters and senior, and they were the same weight. So it was an easy transition. In spec was the same. All three were the same. So that you go out there and we end up stacking more weight on that thing, and you run spec.
Yeah, it
How
was
much
enough.
bloody weight do we have on that? I mean, I know in Seth
There was
Willis
like
we've
the
got.
20 pounds under the tank.
Oh yeah, we had the sheet.
Probably like 30 or 40 pounds on the seat.
Golly, 60 some odd pounds.
Yeah, something like that.
Is Masters lighter? Just give me 2 more years.
No.
No, they're fatter up there.
Yeah. No.
I just want to give people a hard time, and they'll
Actually,
disagree.
that'd be pretty cool. I mean, again, not doing the CSK racing team anymore. Next year, maybe you do that. Get back into the 206 game.
And I would love to jump into Masters.
Yeah,
That would be quite
that'd be-
fun.
you
that'd
just
be
have
neat.
so much bloody weight on there. But if we can get the car to work, that'd be cool.
Oh, and it would be hilarious because everyone's going to give me shit. They're like, "You're not in Masters." I'm like, "If I
That's
see
true.
my ID."
You look about one day older than 21 right now. Yeah, not much.
No, I look forward to making people upset.
Yeah.
So I mean, getting a chance to do that 206 thing again, and jumping back into it, having not done it for a while. Did it remind you at all doing the Gym Hall stuff? I mean, that was 100cc, but it was now the first time you've been back in a competition kart for a while. Did it all kind of come back to you pretty quick, or was it something you had to kind of, all right, it's not a sport kart anymore, I got to change my driving a little bit?
Oh yeah, I had to undo like some of that sport karting.
Right.
I mean, that was the majority of the seat time that I did have. But after it didn't take too long though, because I'm like, oh man, this feels much more natural again. I'm feeling good. So there was some reset involved, but it didn't take long. Like the comfort level came pretty quickly.
Nice.
What was your favorite part about karting in general? Like just the wheel-to-wheel, because you got that, which is wheel-to-wheel racing, and autocross or track days, which is just you versus the clock or you and the track, and that's it. So I guess maybe a two-part question. What's your favorite part about the wheel-to-wheel, and what are the aspects of driving the car that you like?
Okay. Favorite part of driving wheel to wheel is realizing I suck at it.
Oh, really?
I know that sounds like a negative, but the revelation that, okay, you know what? This is the biggest challenge for me is the strategy aspect.
Racecraft.
Yeah. So we've I've over the years I've seen like, okay, you can have all the speed you want. You can be good at driving, if you will. But if your strategy is lacking, it's completely useless. So my favorite aspect is figuring out that I have something here that I can work on. This is great. Not that I ever got that great at it, but my favorite thing was learning like all the time and trying to figure out a better way to do something that I just sucked at. It was the improvement aspect, and that there was a lot room to work with.
Gotcha. That's got to probably spill over into the car stuff as well a little bit. That same aspect of the same theme of self-improvement or improvement of the equipment, perhaps.
And I mean, that's mostly the overarching theme of why I enjoy driving in the first place. Is that it is the pursuit of self-improvement, really, and doing the best that you can at something that you really enjoy doing. And with the car stuff, I mean, I have a very romantic view of cars. I mean, absolutely. I like, even though it came late in the game, oh man, I love driving. I love being in a car. I'll look at the lines of something, go, oh, that looks absolutely attractive. Like that is how I see vehicles. And so there is a glamour aspect, if you will, to being behind the wheel of a car versus a kart, and I'm very involved in that. So I'm not sure what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Well, speaking of driving and the fact that like you get a chance to race every once in a while, but most of the time it's the car stuff, or just driving to work or whatever. You have two Miatas. This has been your third or fourth Miata now?
This
third?
is my third Miata. Yeah.
Why Mazda? Like, is this? I mean, you kind of talked about Initial D and like classifieds and whatnot. It all kind of worked out to get the FC. Why did you? And then you didn't even want the Miata the first time. Like you were kind of like, oh, I don't know. But now then you do get the new one. Why the Mazda thing? And how did you get hooked up with that so heavy?
Well, like I said, I'm pretty romantic with that kind of stuff, and it's one of those. Once you get a first impression of something, it stays with you, and it's very hard for me to change my mind on anything if there is one singular object that already occupies that space. We already know this with my inability to multitask. So, I mean, like my propensities as an adult and thinking how I've grown through the years is like, if there's something there, that's it. Like whatever gets in there first, that's it. And that's what happened with Mazda stuff, with the RX-7. That car has a very huge space in my being, in my personality, in my driving history. It was very hard to replace all the emotions, all the experience, all the passion that got wrapped into it. So you can't just remove that and, oh, let's slide a Toyota in here. Like that's no, you can't just. It's not going to work. So now we'll add to that I do agree with a lot of their design principles in like engineering department. You know, the horse and rider is one aspect. All the designs that they like. This is a modern car company that still creates vehicles with manual transmission. I mean, sure. It's kind of like it's getting a little thrown away on the Mazda 3 that's coming up. It's turbocharged and no manual transmission. Seriously? But I will shut up and not be complaining about that.
Go down that rabbit hole, yeah.
Anyhow, it is their design principles I agree with. And if you look, Mike, you've driven my new Miata.
Yeah.
You've driven my old one.
Yeah.
They have the same spirit. That's like 25 years of separation, and they feel the same in a certain way.
It was pretty damn cool to get it, and the pedal box was like identical.
Right.
Like I drove, I drove your old one, but I also drove, which is very, very painful, by the way. My big
seat.
ass trying to fit in that thing.
That thing is size small, intended for a 32-inch waist.
Yeah. So with and then
Skinny thoughts.
TA when he was down here and he had his the blue Miata. Yeah. I drove that a heck of a lot more, but even that was a little bit tight. But the pedal box, you get in that old one versus the new one, and it's like it's the exact same car.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's a little bit, but where the shifter is, the pedal box, where the
driving feels the same with it.
You're in the same cockpit. At least that's the way it feels like. So yeah, that was pretty damn cool to have that whole thing being very, very equal. You've actually been in the Mazda game, if you will, with the cars and whatnot, but you've gotten a chance to do some other cool shit with Mazda as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Very cool. Like, cool. I mean, when I think about it right now, I'm like, that's really cool. Let's do it again. Some more, please. But, I mean, we could start with, I've told this story a million times, but, the first time was holiday season of 2013, and it was a week-long contract to test on their Diesel 6. And at the time, it's like I'm 3 years into knowing anything about cars, okay? I'm still a noob, but I've got the enthusiasm and all the excitement, and I want to say Facebook and like Instagram was just barely getting going, and people were only barely building their brands online. So I'm like full steam ahead, and I get this call from a good friend of mine, and he was a coach at K1 at the time.
Okay.
Kevin Madsen. So he calls me And he says, if I've got a gig for you, but I can't tell you who the company is for, And he knows he's an RX-7 guy too, by the way. That's how I got to know him. His car was outside the K1. I'm like, whose car does that belong to,
Right.
Anyhow, he calls me. He's got the gig, and my employer at the time, I asked them, hey, will you let me jump on this job here? It's the opportunity to be a test driver. And they're like, oh my gosh, really? Sure, we'll let you do modified work hours and jump on this deal. I'm like, oh, this is great. Let's go. And so, cool thing. And the main bit with this testing was that the actual title of it is accumulation test driver. So over the course of a week, you are driving a specific route around Southern California and putting it through real world conditions. And then I'm sure I can't go too deeply into detail on how the testing works, but whatever. It should be pretty like industry standard stuff that you take notes on what's happening with the car under X conditions, under Y conditions. But it was just super cool to get the opportunity to do that and then get acquainted with the R&D team there and kind of like, bed myself, if you will, a little deeper in with my name in the industry.
With the Mazda specifically as well.
Mm-hmm. So that was a really cool thing.
What year was that?
That was 2013.
Okay.
And then a year and a half passes by, and that's when the new Miata started becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a phone call later, 2015, to get, and I was invited back to work with the same R&D team to jump on
cool.
the new Miata for a week. And I'm like, oh,
That had been cool. Because it's not a diesel. It's not a...
No.
This is the Miata.
Oh, man, I'm Cloud 9. I'm a little starstruck, and I feel real fancy. And it's one of my favorite memories specifically is we're supposed to go up the mountain to give it some elevation testing.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't do that because it was snowing. So that part was closed off. So instead, we're taking these brand new, still not in the market, like ND Miatas through the beach down at like Orange County area, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just driving through. I'm like, man, I'm getting paid to be in a convertible right now.
And driving up and down the coast.
And something that people don't have.
No, and it don't exist. And I'm just like, ooh, this is
Who's the best?
Yeah.
and then I'm on an NDA, so I can't say anything at the time.
Right.
And my favorite would be like on Instagram, people like when people spot this car right now, people are getting excited. And so I'm seeing someone caught a screenshot or caught a photo, and it's me behind the wheel of one of them going through
cool.
like the beach, and I'm like, I'm like, I can't, I had to shut up.
It's
I
something
can't.
to be proud of, though.
And so I screenshot that, and I have it like forever. I'm like, that was me.
Nice.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
So that was nice. And then I'm hoping at some point they'll call me back again for a week-long gig. I don't know if you'll let me do it, Mike.
Well, let's see what happens. See what happens. For
Set
sure.
it
It's
up for a NASCAR.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely try to if we can. And speaking of, you said earlier, the brand and whatnot, your brand, it's basically, you're wearing the hat and you're just kind of getting back into it. And actually, I've got one of your older shirts on.
That's OG.
Yeah, and actually I liked it because back then, and I got this, I want to say when you were doing, sort of around Grand Slams, either 13 or 14.
I feel like Grants, yeah.
But it's FAE Racing, and it was Dream Chaser. And I always thought that was really cool because for me, I've always kind of followed that, like, Dream Chaser kind of thing. So that's why I got it. But what is FAE Racing and your brand, and what's the point? What was the goal? How did it start? All that kind of stuff.
Oh, if we want, people ask me, what is it? What is FAE Racing? And my full legal name is Sarah Faye Escobar Bantay. So Faye is part of my first name.
Gotcha.
Sarah Racing sounds kind of stupid. So FAE Racing was going to be the brand. And the idea is...
Did you say Escobar?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Like Pablo Escobar.
Okay. Just making sure that I heard that right.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Sarah Faye Escobar Bantay.
Oh, we can...
Bantay.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Okay.
That's close enough.
All right. I'm making sure I got the Esquibel.
Well,
So Sarah Racing is stupid, but FAE Racing is not. So you decided to go with FAE Racing.
Why didn't you go with Esquibel Racing?
I don't know. I mean, the drug deals. I mean,
maybe get some money for that.
oh,
You certainly get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
no, and I mean, if anybody wanted to get sponsored to supplement the drive, like the only way to get in the seat is with the help of sponsors. The stuff is expensive. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I had started it, was with the hope of having a solidified image and brand that I could have companies, individuals support. Then I could bring them whatever they need, and then they could give me money, parts, whatever, so I can continue on the effort. It's the standard sponsorship stuff. And that's really what FAE Racing was started for. Today, I've had that brand for 10 years now. And when I came, and I always consider the start date of it the day I bought the car.
Sure.
So
cool.
June 18th, 2010 is when I consider it the official beginning of the brand, even though I kind of only came up with it like a year later. Mm-hmm. But
so again, the Sarah Racing thing wasn't going to be the deal. It was FAE Racing instead. Mm-hmm. And now you have this brand that you've been rolling with, and actually just to your point about it, the origins of that being with the car and whatnot, and being 10 years ago. So we're about 10 years into it just this summer. And you've just recently kind of revamped it, if you will, or hit the reset button. What was the thought behind doing the brand in the first place, as far as the logos or anything like that? And then you've changed that whole look now. So what was the old thought and the new thought, and why'd you change?
Well, the old thought, like I said, those were the younger days when you're just blindly trying to be the best race car driver in the world, you know. And FAE Racing, it's a rabbit in a helmet is what it's supposed to look like. And if you look on Mike's shirt, it's this cushy, fun-looking bunny with a helmet on.
That fits the old you.
Yeah, you know, and it was fun. And
the new rabbit would be tatted up.
Well, you know what?
It's like spikes.
Well, hold on.
It's spikes.
With the new, that was at the time, but the new logo, it's time for the 80s. This is fun. This is yes. And thank you for wearing the brand new hat and supporting the brand. I do have some hats for sale. I'm going to have to drop that on the podcast. So hit me up if you want.
What year were you born?
1987.
What about you?
82. You were not born in the
No. 70s, actually.
Oh, jeez.
Idiot.
She's really into the 80s. You've always been in the 80s.
Yeah.
You're just now starting to do more with that design and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there an era that you've ever really liked?
You're
not really that kind of guy, but I don't know if there was one that stuck out to you.
Nothing really pops out. I mean, a lot of the 90s stuff is just nostalgic for me because, I did all my, quote, growing up, as a teenager and whatnot during that period of time. So,
90s sucked.
But I can't really tell you. I mean, the 80s has a vibe to it. The 90s had a little bit of a vibe to it. I don't really feel like the 2000s have a vibe to it.
They do,
yeah?
but
it sucks, and
but
so we're not going to
talk about it. Exactly.
So you basically went this new route because it's fun, it's different, and it certainly does fit the current vibe that you got going on.
Oh yeah, and like RX7 is such an 80s looking car. Like the lines are pretty square. That thing was based on a 944. So, I mean,
makes a lot of sense.
Did not know that. That's
yes,
cool.
Fun fact for you. But
just for me.
Next time you look at both of the cars next to each other, or
I'll
if ever,
I'll definitely be able to see both of them.
The cues are going to be there. But this style, I mean, it's the new FAE Racing. It's 10-year anniversary. Let's have at it. Let's do some cool shit. And there's no rabbit anymore. Don't need a rabbit. Just go. The rabbit was originally designed with you need the carrot.
That's cool.
There ain't no carrot. Just go.
Just go play.
Just go play.
Just have a good time.
I mean, it's as simple as that. It's kind of almost juvenile, but who cares? This is racing. We clearly do juvenile things at the racetrack.
You're having to go out there and have a good time, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, we didn't talk about much or didn't bring it up at all, but when you actually were getting into the car stuff and whatnot, you also joined a a group or a club, right, called Drifting Pretty.
Yeah, that's a thing. And this is yet another story I've told a lot of times. But it was when I was going to K1 Anaheim quite a bit. And I'm big into RX7s, obviously. So I'm at the counter at the K1, and there's like this postcard with like an FD RX7 on it, like sliding. I'm like, oh, that looks sweet. And it was a postcard for the Drifting Pretty organization. So I looked into it, and what it was, I want to say it was 2011. It was end of 2011, and it's supposed to be a group of women. The official tagline is nonprofit organization for the advancement of women in motorsports. That's the official tagline.
Gotcha.
What I didn't know at the time was when they had started years before that, it was an official team that was competing in Formula D.
Oh.
Nadine was the first woman who actually competed in Formula D, officially.
Who is Nadine?
Nadine Sue is the leader of Drifting Pretty, and she is the big boss.
Gotcha.
She is the one and only. And so all this cool stuff, I didn't really know about it, but I'm ready to go. I just want to, I'm eating up all kinds of driving. So I want to get involved.
Yeah, you'd gotten the car in 10, and now you're getting it. So anything that has to do with more racing, now it's a bunch of ladies that are doing the same thing, you're fired up.
I'm like, let's go. And it's super exciting. But obviously, you guys know me. I don't drift. I suck at that. But either way, the point of the group over the years morphed from, most of the women in there do prefer and enjoy drifting. But the point became we're all women who like driving, and we can do it all together and have like this group of people who know what the hell they're doing and can just have a good time at the track.
Right. Most women do book clubs. You had a car club.
I did. We did.
You'll still have the knitting circle later on in life.
Well, I don't know. Jeez. I'm so hurt. Do you really see me knitting something? Do you see this?
Chainmail?
Oh, okay. We can do that. That would be cool.
It's needlepoint, actually.
I like that.
Well, the Drifting Pretty group actually, you guys came out here, and I want to say a couple of times.
We did. We had our own clinic.
You had our own clinic,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
And I remember doing some instruction with you guys.
I have, if you look at some of our old videos, because what we do every year is an end-of-year review. And one particular, it was 2014. That's right.
Oh.
We can look at that video clip. You're gonna laugh, but there's a picture of all of us in the old classroom. You're teaching something, and then you've got the chrome helmet on.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and we're all on track. And I'm like, man, that's a long time ago.
Nostalgia, yeah.
Oh wow! And we could barely get the minimum because we couldn't get enough buy-in from everybody.
Man.
But that was a good time. That was a good time. So like over the years, more members would come and go. But today, it's so funny. You start the Full Caster podcast, but and then a month or two later, I'm on a Zoom call with them, checking in with everybody because of all this COVID stuff.
Right, because during the shutdown and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, so we're at home, and I emailed everybody like, hey, how are you guys doing? Is everyone doing okay? I have not talked to them in a while at that time. And they're like, oh yeah, let's all get on a Zoom meeting, and we're all talking, and the stories are just getting funnier and funnier, and then the idea of a podcast comes up, and I'm laughing because we just kind of started the Full Caster podcast. So
Right.
All right. And in a hurry, everyone started buying up their microphones, and here we are. We start recording officially the Drifting Pretty podcast. And what Nadine's idea, and as well as her husband, Benson, were like, all the girls have such great stories to tell. Lots of struggles and whatnot. And I won't get too deep into it, on our recording right now, but they have great stories about not just the cars, but all the BS that they had to deal with, and all the difficult life stuff.
Ups and downs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then, it's good stories. It's good, aside
this is
from
good radio, right?
Yeah. So, eventually.
Are we getting this?
Yeah. So eventually it became Nadine is a host, one of us co-hosts, and then we interview one member, and I'll take turns until we get through everybody.
That's pretty cool.
Cool.
How many members are in Drifting Pretty?
I can't even count on that, but the number of people who are actively wanting to, actively supporting the podcast recording, I want to say like 8 to 10.
Sounds like a time for another clinic.
Yeah. Oh.
Get him back out.
I like that.
Oh.
So, I mean, 14. It's been over 5 years.
Is that going to be sponsored by Fullcaster Podcast?
It's probably going to be sponsored by Drifting Pretty.
No,
But yeah, I mean that's an interesting deal with that whole thing. I mean, when they came out here, it was very, very few of them had done karting. It sounded like at the time, and it doesn't sound like there's a lot of them that do karting in general. Like maybe you're the main karting person of the group.
I was.
Yeah.
I ended up being the coach.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it would be fun to see everybody give another go. A few years down the lane. What as the years go on and whatnot here, and you've been here, as we said earlier, about 5 years or so, getting into the, now you have the new Miata and whatnot, and kind of the direction you're taking with stuff. What are the plans, or what are the things you're trying to do to get back in the seat? We joked earlier about maybe you getting in the 206.
Yeah.
CSK is not going to be a thing, and hell, you could do it this year, really, if we thought about it. But have you thought about getting into the kart racing, since you do have those days off typically, or have the ability to do it, or is it really just going to stick with the car thing?
I haven't really thought too deeply on it, but I do have my eye on trying to jump into Masters later.
I love it.
Like, I really do. As to
Nice.
in what, I don't know. I mean, Mark Connell's comments on the costs of doing 100cc Tag Masters are not really making me very happy, but
Mark's a Debbie Downer, so you can't put too much past him.
that is true. I should not, But that seems the most prominent thought, but that's a little too deep into the future. That's still like 2 years
Right.
from now. But right now, it is going to be keep the RX7 running, but that's like a lifelong endeavor.
That's
Right.
always there, yeah.
And then couple track days here and there with my Miata. But in terms of karting, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. Because the concept of like jumping into one, like I don't want to just jump into one race. I would like to do a whole season of something.
Right.
And,
Right.
Like I want to do a full commit rather than just like play like once.
Do you
Right.
do you miss sport karting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I had the chance right now to like be in every single sprint series, I'd do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And jump into every super series, I totally would. Because like I enjoy working with everybody when they're not yelling and screaming at me like big babies.
Yeah.
And I can say that right now because I'm off the clock.
Or little babies.
Nice. Little babies.
Yeah. Like to quote, I think it was on Facebook. What was it? Like, explain your job poorly. And it was,
that was awesome.
I think what I wrote was like, I yell and scream at people to behave and play nicely so that we can all have a fun time. And then somebody was like, oh, you work at a preschool.
Well, definitely, it's kind of like herding cats sometimes, trying to keep all the different personalities and whatnot in check.
Herding cats. Jesus.
I like cats though.
Yeah, so maybe that's how it goes. You'd herd cats all day, it would be no problem. Well, Sarah, I got to tell you, this has been fun. It's been a good time kind of hearing the origin stories of your background. I mean, we've always had a good time chatting stuff up, like after we'll get done with work or whatever and BS and whatnot. But this has been a really cool thing to kind of get on here. And for anybody who doesn't know you, like, okay, you're here and you're working and whatnot, and they say, hey, and at registration and move along or see you at the events. Now they can kind of hear a little bit about, no, actually, you A, absolutely know what the hell you're talking about, and B, have a pretty storied history in motorsports. So really enjoyed it, and thanks for coming on.
No,
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
no, it was fun. I'm here on a Monday and I'm not on the clock. That's unusual.
And probably the last time that'll happen.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again.